everybody, and welcome back to Manga Monday here at the Weird Science Manga and Anime Podcast. I'm Jim, and I'm here with Luke. What up, Luke?
Oh, what up, Jim?
Hey there. We end up having sometimes when we record where things kind of are synergistic, as I would say. They line up, and I think that this is one of those because we are going to be talking about cells at work in this episode, and I feel like crap.
Your cells aren't working.
My cells are not working.
Jeez.
I need to get the white blood cells to stop being up so bloodied up and get over here and stop something. I need this here. I don't know. When I see you in a bathing suit, you're a bit of a killer tease.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my. That's not acceptable. Yes, but we end up doing this in a weird way. We were going to do something else. I suggested to you.
Whoa.
You gave me a real good reason not to do that. And so I said, well, let's just do cells at work.
Cells at work.
And it was one of the things that has been on the list. I'm not going to say that it's the biggest of bangers, but I think it's pretty much a banger.
It has banger potential.
There's a lot of sequels, as we'll see. I ended up not only reading this first chapter, but also watching the first episode of the anime. And I did that mainly because I was trying to figure out how I can talk about this book with you as we go, because with this, it's a bit of a... not going to say it's a slog or anything. I actually like it. You'll hear by the end that I do like it. It just ends up being something that has a lot of descriptions, a lot of medical and biological terms, things like that. And it plays well. I think it overdoes that a bit in this for what it is, and we'll get into that when we go.
But still entertaining.
But yeah, if you kind of go with the idea, okay, they're going to throw some things at you, it does help you a little with the story, but the story itself tells a good enough story. And really, I'll go with it right now before you go in your intro deal. When we go through this, you end up having, red blood cell shows up, and it's a girl with red hair, right? And I get it. Okay, that's cool. She's got red jacket on. And then you have to stop with a narration of red blood cells. They deliver. I wish that they ended up having Akane Shimizu, the creator here. Mm-hmm. I wish they would have been able to pretty much step back and say, my story is strong enough that you'll get those points through story, not just a stamp there. Because, again, if you watch old people's movies, I'm sure Luke would say, like an Osmosis Jones, the same concept. What you end up having is you're in the human body, and the different characters are the different things that go through the body.
You get the idea what's going on there. You don't need the label.
Yeah, and that's where I think that it would have been a kind of a neat thing. I mean, really would have been neat in my mind if you would have went through the whole episode or issue, I should say, or chapter, and by the end, you realize, holy crap, this was in a body? Like do it that way. Like, you play it out so well that you end up at the end like, oh my God, that was a red blood. Like, I wish you had that. But right away, it kind of goes a bit technical. I actually like this, but I think it would have elevated a bit if it wouldn't have been, every 2 seconds you get a stop. And there's a lot of stop, start, and then by. I think a lot of people like me and Luke, by the midway point of this first chapter, you're probably like, yeah, I'll skip that. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay.
If we have the biology test at the end of this, we're flunking.
We're failing.
Oh, boy.
And so we are not gems. I will tell you that right now. There's no way we're gems.
Not working.
No, they're not. And so with that, though, some of this narration stuff and some of these little blocks that they give you, it really just reiterates what you just saw. I mean, you end up like, hey, I'm the white blood. And a lot of people, most people should know the basic.
What the platelets do.
Yeah, I think that it goes a little bit too far. Again, though, I did like it because you said that you thought the art was okay when we were getting ready to do this. I really like the art. I think it is good. I love the concept. It's very unique and it plays up that concept. But give me some info because there are, like you said, a ton of sequels. There's a bunch.
My goodness.
And it sets up a pretty neat idea of how you can have those.
Yeah, it all builds upon it very well. This is The Cells at Work, written and drawn by Akane Shimizu, first published in monthly Shonen Serious magazine from Kodansha. I don't think we've ever had that one before.
Serious?
Very serious.
I guess. I mean, really, it is like a lesson at points, right?
This is serious business, Jim.
It is. It's the body.
My goodness. And it was from January 2015 to January 2021 for a total of 6 volumes. which doesn't seem like a crazy amount for like that length of time. And interestingly enough, that new volume, the volume 6, that one had the COVID-19 chapters in it. So hot off the presses.
I wonder if that was controversial.
I don't know.
It may have been. I don't know. I don't know.
It's good though, right? Because I don't know, like, you know, you educate the people about the virus.
Me and you were even talking about it, and I'm like, how did this end? And we were talking about all different ways you could end. It all was awful diseases, so why not, right?
Maybe, like, I don't know, does that mean it's
so the final chapter was COVID?
Is that like a cliffhanger? Because we're still in a pandemic?
I think they died. I think it's over. I guess. I don't know. Yeah,
it lives on in the
too
spin-offs.
soon. Yeah. Well, anything? What are the tie-ins? What are the sequels?
Well, first of all, before we get into all of those, we do have an anime adaptation, as you pointed out. First season 2018, second season 2021. So nice to see that it came back, because I know that first season was very popular. So it came back, and just in time, probably when everybody was in lockdown last year. So, you know, very, very topical, you know. But yeah, we do have, I'm telling you, a bunch of spin-offs. And let me tell you, Kodansha have milked this for every penny they can get. But, you know, obviously, and we were saying this is a popular series, obviously there's, you know, they wouldn't be and especially, like, it's one thing for them to be coming out in Japan, but they've licensed a lot of these as well. So a lot of these they've brought over to the West. So there must be some market, you know. I don't see many people gushing about the cells at work, if I'm being brutally honest. But obviously there's enough of a market that they're bringing out, because let me tell you. First of all, we got cells at work bacteria, which is about the bacterias. We have the cells not at work, which is...
I heard of that one. Is that just a cadaver? Is that like, it's like a dead... It just shows you it's every page is black.
There you go. Womp womp.
Cells not at work. Is that when they go on vacation?
Maybe. I don't know.
Kind of funny. I don't know what that means in the body, but
the body. Where's the vacation in the body? I don't know.
When they're sleeping. But again, they don't sleep. These cells,
no, they're always at work.
Always on the job.
There you
always.
Go. Now, the biggest one is probably because this is the one that got its own anime adaptation in 2021 as well. So this is Cells at Work Code Black. Which is when the body is unhealthy, and it deals with some nasty R-rated stuff.
That seems like it'd be like the Grey's Anatomy.
Right?
But everything's like crazy.
Oh my goodness!
Inside scoop. That's what it is. Everything's going wrong.
Then we have.
I was just going to say, the weird thing is you have the that Code Black deal to be some real bad stuff going on, because you really. In the other books, you're going to have things go wrong to get the characters out. I mean, in this chapter, you end up getting like a little cold type deal that they have to avert.
This goes really wrong.
Code Black, I don't know what's happening there.
The interesting thing with that one is where they have like the gender swap. So, you know, the way it's like the cute red blood cell and the deadly white blood, it's the other way around. So it's the male.
Are they the same looking characters, do you know, but just swap?
Everybody has like the same outfits. But they have, like, the different gender.
What? That's their job.
That's their job. That's the uniforms.
Yeah.
Jeez. So we also have Cells at Work and Friends, which is all about the different cells being buddies. Then we have Cells at Work Platelets, which is the gem manga.
They are the gems.
They are the gems. Then we have Cells at Work Baby, which is when they're all in
It's getting ridiculous. It's really getting ridiculous, right?
I'm telling you, people, like, it used to be whatever Kodansha.
So they have, like, Cells at Work End of Days with, like, a 85-year-old, right?
I don't know, maybe that's been grim
now. They're going around with, and that's the reason why that people end up dying, is because they're not quick enough. They have the walkers in there and stuff. It's crazy. Be crazy stuff going on.
They used to announce, whenever they did announcements, it was 90% Cells at Work titles. So people just got really annoyed, because any time they look for something new, more Cells at Work. And last of all, we do have we have two more. We have Cells at Work Lady, which is all about the female body. And then we also have Cells at Work White Brigade, which is all about the white cells. So that is all of the spin-offs, and no doubt there'll be more on the way. I don't know. You said Cells at Work Zoo with the animals.
You got the animals, right? I also said that why don't we just get some Cells at Work Justin Bieber? Get everybody in this. Go and do that. See what happens with Justin Bieber.
With the stars.
I don't know what crazy stuff that guy gets into, but hey, I want to see the Cells at Work in there. Beautiful. It'd be great, right? They're dancing around. I don't know. They're listening in on him recording. I really don't know what they do, but there might be some trouble. Blackpink Cells at Work. The problem is that Blackpink's a gem, and all of them are perfect, so nothing ever goes wrong.
No diseases.
It's the most boring deal ever. It's so boring because they're so great, right? But they actually, the Cells at Work in the Blackpink, especially Lisa, they're all dancing around. You can't stop them. They're just dancing.
It's a party that never ends.
That'd be good. But Rosé's Cells at Work, they'd sing like angels.
Oh,
they
my
would.
goodness.
But is that all of that?
That is it.
I really, really want to know and want to have a stage play with this because it would end up, to me, playing off a lot like a really bad 6th grade play. Like, hey, everybody, we're the Cells here. Like, it'd be these kids in these bad costumes and things like that, because a lot of this does feel like, I'm telling you, like a 7th grade kind of, just sit. No, I'm just saying the book itself with how they're explaining things. And when we go into this, some of this really feels like that. So it'd be fun. But this is chapter 1. Pneumocockus. I've heard that phrase before.
You don't want that.
You said you hadn't. Anything that starts with pneumo and ends with coccus, I don't want. Right? That's what I say. No. But you end up starting out and you have to kind of pay attention right away. First off, you get a couple pages with the characters in there, like these color pages, and they are pretty cool to look at. You end up seeing them, and you're like, okay, there's some cute characters here. There's some cool things going down. I want to see what's up with the gems, the platelets, especially because they have a trucker hat type deal that spells it out quite like Justin Bieber wears. So there you go. But yeah, some of the others that you see, like Memory Cell, I'm like, I don't trust that guy.
I like B-Cell. B-Cell looks like he gets the job done.
Every time I see B-Cell, I think that he has like a baseball bat or something, but he doesn't. But then I also hate Helper T-Cell. I don't like him in this at all. But it's fun to look. And obviously, white blood cell, red blood cell, those are the big deals. So you end up, though, that you start, and you actually have this real little quick thing where a cell is handing a oxygen box to a red blood cell, right? And she is loading it up on a, gurney, whatever you'd call that.
Trolley.
A trolley type deal there. Now, with that, I think that maybe there's a little tell here because I don't know that it should be that heavy. It's just air in a box, and it is heavy. We find out later that either you end up having the stowaway just jump in anyway before, but I think maybe there's some shenanigans going on right away because what we're going to get in this body is, a sickness. We're going to get a bacterial infection, and then we're going to see how the body reacts to that. Again, it ends up, as I described, that sounds really, really boring. But it's not. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, it is
fun. You hear
the
concept and you think, okay, back to school, here we go. But it's very quirky and it's a lot of fun.
It actually, and I'm shocked if you tell me that at some point they're not going to or don't already have, say, a DS game or something like that. Because I think it could really play out.
Brain training Cells at Work.
Do they have those? Are you saying that or are you making that up? Because they really could. They really could. Even like you had the lawyer games and things like that. But you also had a couple things. The Aces, I used to like that. But there was, and I can't remember, you might know, there was a Wii game that was actually like the trauma center, I think it was, where you ended up doing surgery and stuff. That would be real cool with this. But you end up having this red blood cell, brand new. She's new on the game here, and she's going to deliver oxygen. She has to deliver it to the lungs. So she's going. She is a bit of a ditch. She doesn't know what's going on, doesn't know the lay of the land. Somebody has not given her a map. So really what you get here is our point of view character who meanders about and gets lost, luckily going everywhere where the action is. But it's kind of a cool type of deal where all of a sudden she gets this. And this is, I think, where I watched that first episode of the anime. I think the anime plays out a little better than the static page. You get a lot of motion. You get a lot of the commotion even. Because in this, you're really centered on our main characters not realizing all the people swirling around and doing things and going. Almost like the idea that it's like a beehive, but, in our body and things like that. Now, again, like I said, there are points where I wish that it would kind of pull back a little and let's not get as much of the technical information, but show it through the action to the point with, because then you get that, oh man, that's clever. Like the way they did that was really neat. When you end up getting at the beginning, you're not getting that info yet, right?
It's all spelled out.
But when you get the oxygen though given to the red blood cell, you're like, oh, that's kind of neat. That's a neat way to explain how oxygen does go through the blood and getting the red blood cell to go to the lungs. But then they end up like double backing and trying to really explain it. But in this, she ends up getting this, and all of a sudden there's cracks in the ground.
I don't know. Does the body have earthquakes? What happened here?
It seems like it's just a way. I think that they had to try to figure out a way to get into, the bloodstream, into the thing. And yeah, this whole deal, there's a crack in the floor. And like you said, kaboom. Whoa. And these bacterial come, and it's like the vascular endothelial cells broke. I'm like,
oh no!
All right, what I see is a floor exploding, and that's good enough for me because I know it's in the body. I know that can't be good.
Yes.
And then you end up where, oh my God! Now remember that this girl is new and she doesn't know the lay of the land, so this is going to be something that really would scare her and would really upset her. Where you end up having what looks like complete aliens, which is cool. And again, I'm not doing the research to the point where I'm like, okay, let me see the way the cells look for this bacteria. And are they playing it like that? Because maybe they are, because it does seem like a lot of things are researched. But you end up where they just look like aliens, right? They look like monsters. They're manga alien monster bacteria.
This is some kaiju number 8 in the body.
Yeah, that come in and say, hey, this is pretty cool, nice place in here, not too hot, not too cold, just right. It's like the 3 little bears. And ends up, I think we have plenty to eat. All right, let's get rid of all these jerk-offs here and start to attack. And you're going to end up where we find out even later that this bacteria, one of the big things that they're going to try to do is just eat the red blood cells. So that's like, that's like dinner and snacks for them. And
buffet.
Yeah, so they're going to do that. And then, boom, all of a sudden, slicing and dicing, this thing gets destroyed.
Whoa.
And you get to see white blood cell. And white blood cell's pretty cool. And again, you get the black and white. So you only see, dark splotches for blood. And the idea, though, on the anime, I do have to point out, too, the blood on and you saw on the color page, just a full white guy with a white, it really pops. And the idea that they are like the ghosts kind of deal, and you even get it through this, is people don't really like them. That's what I liked about this. Like, they're scared of them. They think it's spooky, the things that they do, because everything has its own job and things like that. But that doesn't mean that the white blood cells have to be best friends with this and that, right?
If your work colleague is straight up murdering suckers down the street, jeez, I don't know about that.
I even like a little bit of the, even to think through the deal, they only show up when there's bad stuff.
Bad
so
news.
You're not going to want to see them.
No.
And then when they do, they're just brutal, but that's their job. But yeah, I do like that. But that's where we get really our first, boom, let's stop a second, because then you get white blood cell, neutrophil. His main job is to destroy foreign substances that enter the body from the outside, such as bacteria and viruses. They make up more than half of all white. I didn't really need that. I really didn't need that. I know. I mean, I guess everybody's first manga is also everybody's first biology lesson, but I think that you keep it simple enough. White blood cells, most people should know that they end up fighting, the bacteria. So with that, though, if most people don't, I think it would have been better for, somebody, you have gossip cells. We like the gossip boys and girls. We have the gossip cells like, oh man, there's those white blood cells. They just fight bacteria. They're weird, right? You even get that a bit.
But splice it in a bit more.
I don't know why you need to just boom. It's like a stamp and it does halt things a bit, but you end up reading it and it helps out a bit, I guess. But you end up going and it's like, okay, there's the single bacterium. You got to kill them all, though. And it ends up, it's like the opposite of Pokemon. You got to kill them all because even one getting away, that causes trouble. And we find out that that's what happens. Yeah. that they will multiply. Like Bebe's kids. You end up where all this, I don't even know if you know what that means. And so you end up with all that, and yeah, you have people like, look at that. Look at that guy. He's covered in blood. Man, them white blood cells, they give me the chills. They're weird. Okay, I like that. I thought that was pretty cool, the way that they spelled that out. And then he looks behind, and you got poor, new red blood cell, cute red blood cell. Who is it, Gem? I mean, she is. She only is trying to do her job first day, and she's really struggling. She doesn't
have the Google Maps for the body.
And again, just think of the idea. If you end up thinking it through, she ends up, it's almost like you are given like an arranged marriage, arranged job. I mean, she is born and she is a red blood cell. There's no other thing she's going to be. That's what she is. That doesn't mean she's great at her job. It doesn't mean that she knows what's going on. So she ends up there and like, hey, what are you looking at? What's up? You need something? She's like, yeah, kind of don't know where I'm going. I'm supposed to take this package. I'm supposed to go to the lungs, but thanks for saving me. Boom, stamp, red blood cell. And it's her red color is due to the chemical hemoglobin. She transports oxygen. It might be a little too much. It's not a ton, but it ends up stopping the pace. Yeah, the pacing ends up getting thrown off by it. I wish that what you would have had is you go through this. I said there's a lot of things I wish. I actually wish, again, that by the end you realize, holy crap, they were in a body. But you're not playing at that. So why not at the end have these main characters with this information as character sheets at the end? And you could even say, hey, thanks, I'm red blood cell. Boom. See sheet, red, and go in if you need to. I know.
Consult the, page.
I'm no Einstein here.
Jeez.
But I know that a red blood cell is going to take oxygen to the lungs. Because you know what? That's what she's doing.
There you go. A lot of this you can just pick up, because the story is so well structured.
Yeah, and that's the weird thing. And where I'm getting upset about it, please don't think that I think it's a bad story. My problem is that I think it's good enough to not have those at most points. Yeah, I mean, I think that the writer and artist is doing enough of a good job to really just play this out without those, stamps, without that narration. It's almost like
a dictionary mandate to make this okay for the text.
And it would be cool, like, if you ended up and we were in, like, the future. And you're there with like the Minority Report. You're reading this in the air and pushing things, and that could pop up on the side. Would you almost like a Starship Troopers? If you ever see that, do you want more? Press here, and you could go. But I'd rather it be that. Okay, optional. I know what red blood cell is. Let's go because it does stop, and you end up. Oh, thanks. That was really close to save me. Hey, don't thank me. I was doing my job.
Now, this might be more handy when we get into the more complex. I don't know, when we get into all them spin-offs where we don't know what's going on, maybe then all the little boxes.
The weird thing, did you look ahead at all to, like, the next chapter?
No.
Because usually what happens when a chapter ends, I always get afraid that something's going to be like, oh, there's another 2 pages that they snuck in. So I went, and I swear, if I'm not mistaken, the second chapter starts out with a repeat of one of the things that was spelled out already. And it kind of like, and I think it was the helper cells that they end up explaining again.
The helper genes.
Yeah, so you end up, okay, well, we're going to go. In the background, you just hear the craziness of, we're going to kill them dead. Let's go get them. They're all fired up to go get this bacteria and stuff. But you do end up seeing one of them sneaking away. Ooh. You end up seeing they're like sneaking through a fence or something. But yeah, so with that, you end up with it. Just wait, white blood cell. This isn't over. We go back to our girl, red blood cell, and she's like, ooh, that was scary. I just need to deliver this. And you see, it's the oxygen, CO2, all that. I have to get it to the lung. Boom, a red blood cell's job. That, like what little we've gotten so far, we've gotten this, that she needs to get the oxygen.
That's her job.
To the thing. And again, a lot of people know that, but you get that. Then you go and, they're coming hot and heavy, which is like, okay, I got to go down this corridor, watch out. And you have the venous valve. That is where she tries to go through, and there is a gate that stops her. Mm-hmm. And that's trouble. If blood, legitimately, the funny thing to me about this that isn't fully if she gets through that gate, there's death ahead.
Done.
That's what happens when things
she's
go
so
bad.
Ditzy and is cute and adorable that she doesn't know what she's doing. She is mere seconds away from destroying the body.
Millimeters. This is Troubles in a shout out, and it's a bad shout out, but one of the things that ended up, getting Reggie is these things here and those valves and things going. Yeah, so there was a leak and things, and that's big trouble. So it plays it off as, oh my God, Goofy did. I'm like, stop, you're going to kill this person.
Somebody tell her what to do, please.
And that is the fun thing about this, though, is because you're getting this, I guess bird's eye point of view look in here in the body that at one point I was thinking, are we going to see the body outside? But I hope not, because I just want to see them, and now they're doing this, because then you go out and you see it's a baby, then you're going to get all upset. She's going to kill people. But yeah, you end up where she's overwhelmed. I mean, she ends up and she's trying to find the lungs. This first chapter, what you're doing here, and we always talk about the idea that you're going to get some of the world building. It's funny that the world building is a body.
Inside.
But you're also getting the character work, and I think that it does a good job. But if you do it through ditzy red blood cell, oh my God, where am I? Oh, this is the spleen. Oh no, why am I here? And going around. But she is fun to go through, but you do get the macrophage, a type of white blood cell. Looks like a maid type gal.
The flowers, nightingales.
And you get them at the beginning too, and that's what it looks like. Then you get they're in the lymph ducts.
You can't go in here.
You can't be in here. I'm sorry. Just, meandering about, bumbling about, and ends up going past a waste deal where there is a rustling and a talking where, again, red blood cells desperately trying to find the lungs. Goes by, and it just says storage number 7, the storage deal. And here's somebody muttering in there, oh, the lungs. And she's like, oh, maybe I can ask who that is. Maybe it's somebody going. Ends up going in the room, and it's that rogue bacteria. And it's looking at the map of the body, ends up where there's big problems. There's some big problems here where she confronts, and I like when they just look at each other. There's the bacteria red blood cell, and then she tries to slowly close the door and go on her way, and then it comes busting out saying, don't act like nothing happened. And so you have this, and with that, you're hoping to see white blood cell again, right? You're like, oh my God, we have to get going. Where's white blood cell? And then thankfully, white blood cell does show up. And, here we go. We're going to go back to the fights. But again, I like this idea that white blood cell is a little scary. I mean, shows
he comes
up
in like a demon.
Yeah, he looks like a demon. Looks like something that would be in Jujutsu Kaisen. Really, in my mind, that comes in with that one eye because he's got the cool Justin Bieber hair and the checker hat. But yeah, he comes busting in, and they're going to fight again. Now, this is where we get some inside baseball, inside body, where as the white blood cell is about to attack and red blood cells there, they get hit by what looks like a bionetting, a type of deal where they end up where that is something that allows the bacteria to escape. And then you get that info. This info I needed.
There you go. You see, sometimes this works.
But again, couldn't you have in this, hey, I'm red blood cell. Hey, white blood cell, what the heck was that? And then white blood cell goes, oh, I forgot you were new on the scene. What that was, I sound like John Wayne.
Working hard or hardly working?
Hey there, little girl. That is the bacterial capsule, a layer found in some types of bacteria outside the cell wall. Why are you talking to me like you're a Wikipedia entry? I don't know what Wikipedia is. I'm a white blood cell in a body, so you better slow your roll, lady. See, that would work. But that's all you needed. Instead of that big narration deal, you could have had, oh my God, what was that? Because I think that you could play off the idea that red blood cell would not normally be involved in this. White blood cell would. This is training. This is what they would know. But then they say it then. I mean, that's what gets me is at points they end up getting that. And then later you will reiterate it. I think it would have been better done in just a dialogue deal, a dialogue situation of characters that actually know, and you have the greatest point of view character in, I mean, pretty much empty-headed, clean slate red blood cell. I mean, she doesn't know nothing. She doesn't know her butt cheeks from the lungs, is what I say. But so they have to go and get it. Now, this is where you have the fun, though, because all of a sudden they are kind of now joined at the hip, artificially a bit, but they are. And the idea of, oh, crap, I got to go. White blood cell's going to give chase. We'll untangle ourselves out as we go.
On the move.
And but they're not. And red blood cells upset, like, we're not untangling. Now, with that, I start to get this weird feeling in my mind of, okay, is this something that actually does, like, now I'm starting to think crazy stuff because of how this is set up. And then I'm thinking, is this what happens? What happens when a red blood cell and a white blood cell kind of join in this? Is that something that happens? I don't know. But we end up going, and hey, we're going to get the invader. We're going to go, and we have to get it. And he is able to say what it is. He knows what this bacteria is. White blood cell doesn't. Goes, he's a pneumococcus bacterium. If we don't kill him quickly, he'll begin dividing. Boom. Then we get another narration. A pathogen that causes respiratory diseases such as pneumonia possesses a cell capsule, highly virulent. You almost got that already. And the idea of a respiratory disease, okay, I see what you're doing, because you're setting up, because red blood cell needs to get to the lungs anywhere. That's where it would be going. That's why it was muttering, lungs, things like that. So, okay, that's okay. But yeah, you end up where she says, I think that it's on its way to the lungs. Oh, my God. And they say we're in the right kidney because that's where you have the urine sign. And like a lot of things going on here that are kind of cool, but it just kind of gets thrown at you really quickly. But I do like, again, I keep having to say, I like the action. I like the characters where they end up going and saying it's not just the lungs. It's going to get in the bloodstream, and then real bad things happen.
Big problems.
That's really bad. And
we get boxes for that, too.
Yes, which we'll just say that. But they even say that's when the pneumococcus enters the bloodstream and attacks various organs. It'll destroy the body. It can work real quick, 24 hours. And then we get a box to say, you don't need that. Please. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, oh, man. But yeah, they're like, oh, my God, it's bad. And they're going to go off to try to do and get to it. But it's white blood cell's job. He has to do this. In the meantime, you have a receptor that pops up that ends up being able to track these bacterium now that he knows what's going on. And it does end up receptor, works like a detector targeting. Okay. So he's going to go off, but the thing's acting all wacky. It's going off all the time. It's almost like Spidey sense, and it's always going off. It's tingling. He can't figure out what's happening. But in the meantime, you have some pretty cool things here where you do have to get that oxygen and stuff to the lungs, because you have to have the lungs healthy. In the meantime, we find out, which I thought was the coolest thing in this, and the thing I thought was the most clever, is the reason why we see the same white blood cell here and meeting up again with red blood cell is that the body that they're in is in a little bit of a, downswing here with the whole immune system. The immune system's down, but they play it off as if a lot of people have called in sick for work. Like they don't have enough workers. I like that idea. Yeah, I like how you play that out, because they even say like, hey, we're undermanned. We end up, the immune system's down a bit. And I kind of like that whole deal as we go through. But we then go to the dendritic cells, or the dendritic cells. I don't even know what that was saying.
The tree houses.
Yeah, it's the tree house with this thing, appendages going. I'm telling you, I'm no Einstein. No. I'm not a rocket surgeon here. But I ended up kind of at that point like, okay, let's go by there, because I see in the corner of my eye the gems of the book. Because you go, and this stuff, again, I'll spell out, played out a little better in the anime, in my mind, too. And you kind of get more of an idea of what's happening. But they end up there trying to get to the lungs, trying to stop also this bacteria from getting in the bloodstream. But they end up here where the platelets are, where they're, actually little kids making things, and that, making the blood cells and making the things there. And they are adorable. They're really neat. And like, oh, look at all the little ones. They're doing their jobs and things like that. And you're like, okay. And again, this is a lot of a running tour of the body
how it
for
works
later. So that when we go, okay, there's problems. Yeah, the problem with the platelets, we know where the platelets are. It's a weird book to talk about. I'm telling you right now.
It's a lot of fun, though, And even like when you get the little box for the platelets and it says they are relatively smaller than other cells, then it makes sense. There you go.
That's what I like. When things actually end up making sense in that way, that's very clever. And yeah, you end up having the platelets. The little girl's like, watch out up ahead. We're still doing construction. Because, yeah, they're building up things and they're doing things. And so with that, you play a clever deal here where a bunch of goods are there. Like, we can't unload the goods. And I'm telling you, these little kids are trying to get these boxes, but they're not big enough. They're jumping. And, oh, that's adorable, they're saying, and stuff like that, because there was a critical mistake with this. Now, we go forward with this, but this body's having some problems here. I mean, right here, because you end up having...
Behind the scenes, there's issues.
Holy moly, there's a blood clot. And again, this is all played out, especially with the platelets here, in a cute little way. It's a lot of construction. It's a lot of the things. So instead of it being, oh, man, we broke the water main, and now we got to shut down 5th and Broad, it's the idea of the blood clot going. We got to clear that out. We got to divert things here. And it plays out pretty cool. It's just, again, it's on the page, where the anime, I think, gives you that more of a scope of the thing, and it feels like a thing going on. But it's still cool. I mean, you still go, but yeah, the receptor on white blood cell is going nuts. And he's like, oh my God, I think I broke it. I mean, this shouldn't be doing this. I don't see any bacteria around, whatnot. Now, he should be a little smarter than that and really go and look at the area. Maybe start walking around different places and say, okay, as I walk away from red blood cell in this package, it starts to, that's what it should be. And right now, he is lava because it is going off here. And so he's like, that crap, I'll take it off. But then you get my least favorite, glasses. Helper
glasses
T
in the
cell.
body.
Yeah, and that's the thing that the helper T cell is there to tell white blood cell and everybody, listen, there is a pneumococcus bacteria on the loose in the bloodstream. We're hereby deploying the killer T cells. Now, with that, I really thought that what we're going to play, again, I keep thinking we're going to get more and more into the body deal. I thought that what they were going to do here is the idea that all of a sudden you get these jerk-off adrenaline comes flying through, like these guys that look like they're all hepped up on, like, power drinks and things like that. Because when this is announced, I would believe that people would get upset. And I thought that you would see some crazy pandemonium with that. But what you are is just setting up the killer T cells. Now you get a stamp, a narration helper T cell. In the event of foreign invasion, these cells act as commanders. That's really all you need to know. They are the commanders. They're are like the team.
White blood cells, but extreme. And white blood cells are already extreme, so that says a lot.
Yeah, and they're the ones who coordinate the attacks. They're the ones who they have to go for. And again, it's a cool deal to then get the idea. This bacteria's there. They have hit DEFCON 5 here.
I'm telling you,
they're at war now.
Never go into this body. This is dangerous business.
I know, yeah. And this is now war. So now you get the helper T cells who are like the commanders, the generals, or even just the police captains, whatnot. But they are doing the coordination going. And they're going to bring in the killer T cells who come in through the lymphatic valve. And they are all business, these guys. And you can tell the idea of going forward, like these guys are probably going to be pretty over the top fun as you go. The one looks a lot like Khan from Witch Watch in my mind, but he's like, and again, we thought that people were, oh, those white blood cells, they're weird. Oh my God, they're killing these killer T cells, they come out when the real crap is
this is serious business.
And you end up there deployed on the orders of the helper T cell. Professional killers who recognize and destroy foreign substances such as transplanted cells and virus-infected cells and cancer cells. So they are real big, heavy hitters. The thing about that is it's kind of a crazy deal, but it is the idea when you end up getting like a kidney transplant or any sort of transplant, they do have to check and watch your T cell count because of the idea that it will attack. It'll go after that transplanted organ, which they spell out there, which is kind of again, it's a cool thing to kind of tell about and whatnot, but really they just come out and like, all right, we're going to start kicking butt. They think they're the greatest. I actually thought that it was kind of cool, these guys, when they come out and then they end up where, again, there's a lot of time to like just stop and talk. But they end up where they go and run into, red blood cell and things like that, where like, hey, you look pretty dandy. You look fine. What's going on? But they end up like, no, listen, you're the target. This bacteria will be trying to destroy you, try to eat you. So watch out. You're a nutrient carrying red blood cell. You'll be the target. So, be on the alert. Watch out. They go off to go and they do get to the lungs then. And the big thing about this is, again, you end up finding out, we'll just, kind of spoil it. It's not really a spoiler because we get to it. We end up having white blood cell as he separates from red blood cell and says, hey, maybe we'll see each other some other time. I know there's a lot of us around, but we might. But yeah, hey, sayonara, sucker. And you end up having red blood cell has to go and deliver, the goods here. And when she gets further away, that sensor, that white blood, it stops going crazy because we find out that, that box ends up having, the bacteria in it as she goes and opens it, and it actually cuts itself up. But that makes sense
delivery.
That the cell, the bacteria here is getting transported by the red blood cell unknowingly as it gets to the lungs and then starts causing havoc.
Very clever.
Yeah, that makes complete sense and is very clever. And again, if you played this off as you're not really spelling it out and you find out right here, like, oh my God, this is like the human body. Like, I really would have been wowed by the cleverness of it.
If it wasn't for all the signs and then all the little tags as well, you could, because when you get to the lungs, that just looks like, like a train station or something with a lot of fans.
It does. It looks like a train station with a lot of fans. If we ended up at this point like that really twist reveal of, oh my God, this it would have been, it would have floored me. It really would have. I'm telling you, all you have to do in this, and we'll get to it, because when this bacteria escapes from this box and starts to attack, they go and take it down. Eventually, and we'll go through the particulars, eventually you end up having it loaded up into a missile to sneeze out. I swear to God, if you didn't see anything until that sneeze, we said, all of a sudden you see from outside, I'd be like, oh my God, that was the greatest thing ever. It's a shame. I wonder why they didn't want to go that route. But you end up where she's there, she's going, and the box from within, it looks like a shark cutting through and out as you end up getting red blood cell away from, all the protection and things like that. Mm-hmm. And it does pop out. And it looks, every time you see this thing, it gets more and more threatening, more and more, crazy dangling limbs and things where it says, yeah, really. I didn't want to say tentacles because then people start getting excited.
Problems.
Yeah. But yeah, the ending is, I'm going to eat you. I'm going to go. Thanks for bringing me all this way. I'm going to go and I'm going to destroy this body. And in the meantime, you'll be a snack to start it off. And she starts screaming. And it does look like there's going to be some big troubles. And you end up seeing that this is indeed the pneumococcus that's spelled out as it's going. But again, you're like, where's white blood cell? Where's, got to protect them. And yeah, you end up having that happen because in the deal, they lock the door. You end up having pneumococcus. They're in like a little side room, and he locks the door, basically saying nobody can come and get you. But you end up having white blood cell break through from the vent in the end. And that is explained as the idea that white blood cells can travel through different blood cell walls to go. And that's what they do. And again, that's a cool deal, right? And so when you show it and you end up having the characters itself say it, I really think that it plays off so much better.
It's such a cool moment.
Yeah, because he comes down into here and then says, I realized that my receptor stopped going when you got away from me, so I knew it had to have been in that package. And now it's just going to be fight time again. And we saw white blood cell is all business. You end up having them and I'll say that some of this art, some of the progression is a little bit harder to follow, but it's still pretty good in my mind. I still think that it's really good. But they fight. Now you go with it because now I'm having problems breathing myself.
Uh-oh.
But you go because at this point we get another one of these nets, right?
Jim says artwork. Yeah, we have another. Now this is like the upgraded. This is like the capsule, but force field that he can shoot out. And this is where I like how, because we've been getting all these little boxes the whole time. Even White Blood Cell delivers his own exposition because he says, this force field capsule is so good I can't even do the cuts. And then she's like, don't say that bit out loud. Oh, jeez. And that's the one now. Now it's like virus can go willy-nilly wherever he wants. He can, because if the blood cells can't damage him, he can go and eat everybody up. Jeez.
Yeah, and he says he's changed the plans. I'm just going to invade the whole body and destroy it. Like the idea that at one point it seemed like he was just going to make the body sick for a while, hang out, get rid of you. Now it's like, nope. I'm going to invade the whole body.
Open season.
And he's going to be able to replicate and, split and all that. I do think, for some reason, when red blood cell says, white blood cell son, I thought that was really neat. Like, I don't know why. Like, the idea. Oh, they're people too. But you end up where, hey, get out of here, red blood cell. You got to run away. I'm going to do this. But you have, this big fight where you do have a pretty formidable villain here in the first deal. This thing's able to just, and it's not phasing or doing, it's wrecking things. It's going through walls. It's just destroying stuff. And yeah, you end up saying, hey, white blood cell, you killed all my buddies. I'm going to kill you, and I'm going to make you suffer. It's going to be fun. I'm going to take you down. You're going to go. And yeah, ends up going and yelling, die. And then you end up with this big bleep, and you're like, what's going on? And this is a little confusing, because what ended up happening here is, and I'm not able, and this is where I kind of needed some narration.
This is
the one time I did, because it is like that kind of deal, almost like an Aliens, almost like a deal where you have led this bacteria into a place where you needed it to be, to then hit a button and pretty much pokeball it. You end up getting it inside a ball. Like we said, usually I would have thought that this would have been some sort of mucus, a membrane, but it just ends up going. The bacteria has been successfully apprehended. The bacteria. It seems like at the end here, you're rushing things after really taking your time with these narration things. When I didn't need them, I kind of wanted a little bit more of an explanation.
A little bit of an anticlimax here.
Yeah. And then just at the deal, when they put him in this ball, then they have, snacks.
There you go, yeah, snack time.
And I'm like, I'm trying to think in my mind what this is. What does this mean? What does this signify? Because of the way you spelled out and have been clever. And the things I'm like, I don't know. They end up having tea. And even with that red blood cell, it's like, I'll have what you're having. I'll have what she's having. Oh. And where it's tea. I'm like, okay.
Victory tea.
Is that supposed to be like one of those where like people drink tea when they're sick? I don't know. Like, would it be chicken soup? I don't know. Whatever.
Delicious.
But you end up seeing this really, crazy deal of...
There's some mousetrap nonsense going on here. Jeez.
I mean, it might as well be at the beginning of Pee-wee's Big Adventure, where he's doing all these things to feed his dog, and the thing is going there. So, like you said, a windmill, monkey ball, super monkey ball.
Goodness.
Got me sick. But you end up where it's going, and you see that this bacteria realizes what's happening because they're in the bronchial tubes, ends up getting put into a missile, sneeze one, that then launches, and he's like, no, don't do this. And then you get where I needed to know what this capsule was, right? I don't need to know what a sneeze is. I know this is more technical than I describe it.
That's like the biggest box of all. It's like a sneeze. We know what that does.
If you ended up saying, I might not be as technical. I might be, it's when an irritant gets in and you want to I know. And
it's like a paragraph here.
It's weird. I'm like, do they sneeze different in Japan? Is there something weird that I'm not knowing here? I don't understand. But you end up where they're watching this. And it's funny where they're just sitting there watching the countdown and watching the sneeze take off. And it's kind of a cool deal where you end up and it separates and then hits. And then you get the sneeze as they're all saluting, especially the white blood cells. Funny. It's like saluting. Bye-bye, germ sucker. And boom, it goes out. Everybody, do they salute every sneeze?
That's a lot of, I mean, they're probably turning around every 2 seconds.
I'm telling you, when I sneeze, and I did before we recorded, I don't sneeze often, but when I do, I sneeze plenty.
There you
go. I ended up like 9 in a row. And I wonder if by now,
their arms are getting tired.
I hate it. Yeah, well, what's going on? Did they fly in from Cleveland? Holy moly. I mean, really, what's going on here? Keep saluting. They're like, hey, let's just stay up in the salute until this stupid thing ends. But you end up where, all right, and then white blood cell ends up. And I'm glad that at one point in this, he did kind of shower, so they got the blood stains off him. But how do you get off the white? I guess they just throw the outfits away, right?
Oh, that's a lot of stain remover.
Are you going to sit there and try to scrub that out? What are you going to use? Like, seltzer water? I don't know.
The vinegars.
And then you get that, hey, white blood cell. What? Will I see you again? I don't know. I'm going to try. I don't know, pretty lady. Because, he's like, well, there's a lot of us. And then you end up seeing him. I'm like, all right, you're the best looking one of the bunch. I mean, at least he has a unique look, right?
He's got the Bieber look.
Look at these others. These other
plain
guys.
Janes.
These other guys, plain Janes. I don't even know what they look like. One guy, I don't know what he's doing, but there's weird stuff on his face. Also, tell me what happened earlier. We didn't even go into it. The helper T-cell, when he's like, everybody, we got an alert. And then, oh my God, you have crumbs on your face. I'm like, what?
Did they eat the cookies in the bodies?
That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, is that something? Because that's what the problem is. When you're doing these narration boxes, these, info boxes, you're really spelling out the technicalities of this world. You're really showing that it's not just, like, I kind of want to go with the idea of, all right, I can have some fun here.
Take on it,
I get that we're getting that, but everything doesn't have to jive like it. But when you have these narration and info
you start
boxes,
second guessing everything.
You start to think that everything has to mean something.
Yes.
And that's what threw me off as well. It's almost like those info boxes try to make you not have fun, but I wasn't letting it happen. I'm like, the info boxes, you're not going to stop me.
There you
I'm having some fun here.
Boom.
Because when I saw the platelets, I had a big smile on my face. But even at the end, hey, am I going to see you anymore? Well, there's a lot of us white blood cells. Boom, number of white blood cells. Approximately 3. I mean, I'm telling you, I don't even know what this microliter, this nonsense.
Oh, my goodness.
Really? Well, there's a lot of us red blood cells, too. And there's a lot more red blood cells, 4.3 million to 5.7 million to the, 3,500 to 9,500 of the whites. So there are definitely more red. Now, when you look at it, though, again, I mean, you're really spelling out that the main characters here are a lot more unique and a lot cooler looking than the others. Because look at these stupid red blood cells. Look at them all.
James.
Yeah, really. I mean, seriously. Look at the one guy right in the middle. Like, I'm like, really? Like, you don't look like anything. None of them do. They look weird. I'm like, they're freaking me out. But yeah, you even have like new member training for the white blood cell. They're all drinking relaxing tea. I don't know what this means. I get so confused. But
in the body.
I like that whole deal of like, well, we work in the same world, and I'm sure we'll run into each other someday. See you around.
Maybe chapter 2.
Yeah, maybe I don't know. And the thing about that is, I think that what you're doing, and if I'm writing this, I think that the challenge, obviously, the creator knows, their deal, the biology. Yes. I wouldn't be shocked if, obviously did some work and research. I wouldn't be shocked if the person ended up being, a doctor or was going to be a doctor or did some things like that.
Well, how do we get these two into a crazy situation?
That's my problem.
Where
do you go? I understand that he knows all the technical. How do you keep getting that one white blood cell? This is the challenge in my mind of this first chapter going forward, because you have now set up that we like these two characters and you like them together. Now, is
you
it something
do a different one each time? That doesn't work.
And I'm worried that maybe you do some crazy things, but where do you get that thing that they are always running into each other doing things? Because, and why would it be those two? What's the deal? Because that seems like it'd be pretty tough to do. So there's the challenge, and that's what I would like to see. Like, what is going on with this going forward? So you end up chapter 1 ending where, I don't know, you end up seeing a lot of murder going on where there was another germ that showed up and the white blood cells are going nuts on it and things like that. So
it's like, this is the bit where up until these guys show up, you're like, oh, you could probably get away with reading this like to the younger kids, but then when these guys get slicing, maybe not.
It is funny because they're just standing there and you're having that nice little, it's almost like the end of like camp. But the camp ended up, having some crazy thing where they ended up being attacked and you have all these crazy things. And then you're like, oh man, that was crazy. Like, we got to go home. Am I going to see you again? Yeah. Wait a minute. Oh no. Stab. You like have this alert. And they really threw me off then to, again, seemingly show you that these white blood cells, especially our main guy, though the others look a little more okay at this point, but you end up where he's just ruthless. and they're killing it dead. A germ there that you barely see, but
and that's them cells at work.
Has red blood cells going. Take it easy, I guess. So it is crazy ending. I liked it.
The ending made me chuckle. It was very clever.
I just want to point out it may have, and it's tough to read. I actually thought that maybe when we talked about it, we wouldn't even mention those info boxes because even when we're talking, they end up screwing up the pacing of this episode. But you can't, not talk about them. But I kind of wish that the creator would have realized that what they had going on here was good enough to do without all of those boxes.
I could see maybe, depending on, I don't know how complex the situations is going to get each time and how many new cells are introduced. You can kind of, because this is very much, we're getting the basics here. So, I hope that they're not going to be introducing the platelets every time. What I mean?
and that's the thing. I mean, you have these things like in, regular comics and manga. And usually you'll have, Luke Hollywood likes to fall asleep, drinks too much. You have these quick little blurbs that do explain the things. I think you could have gotten away with that. White blood cells fights intruders, da-da-da-da-da. You didn't have to go so heavy.
The paragraph.
Yeah, we didn't need, Grey's Anatomy here.
No.
You could have really went with, and even then, that's kind of, it pulled in and ended up the pacing was off a bit by it, so it does affect my score. I do like the art. I like the characters, and it's funny thinking of a world building that is the body, but you do get more of the machinations than actually the lay of the land. But we know the lay of the land, and we saw it, but really being in the spleen doesn't really do much except for finding out some things that you can't do or do and you would expect. And I don't even know. And I'm trying to go ahead a little. You would expect that we're always going to be following red blood cell, right? I mean, red blood cell seems to be the deal, which I do like that she is this kind of ditzy, new on the job deal. I'm going forward here. Okay, we finally do get to her. I was going to say, and it's a couple pages, but I thought, oh no, we're not dealing with that. That would be crazy, but you are there with her. And I see that within 5 pages of the next chapter, white blood cells shows up. So I actually, did you think that maybe the play was going to be that all the white blood cells were that guy?
The same dude? I thought they were all going to be the same, and they were just copies of each
thought
other.
It was just going to be exactly him. So anytime a white blood cell would show up, it would be him. And then maybe have a unique deal with the red blood cell, because that's our point of view. But I don't think that's going. But you do get a bunch of new characters right away in the next chapter, which looks pretty cool.
And it already seems a lot more complicated than this one did. We got
who you get next? You get B Cell.
B Cell showed up here.
Yeah, you get B Cell. Pretty cool. I actually didn't even understand what B Cell was doing on that cover. I thought he was walking with a girder. That's actually a gun.
That's a gun
that he had. Yeah, it's a gun, all right. Yeah, and he looks like a Ghostbuster in this.
That's why we need the text box for him.
We do get it then. I'll tell you, there are the text box. Not as many though, because you set up some things. So maybe that's the thing. Maybe it pays off your patience and going through. And once you get to, say 5 or 6 chapters, you got the basics, and then you'll end up something new popping up now and again.
You'll learn something new along the way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, hey, you know what a histamine is? You get that. There's a bit of allergies going on next one. I'll just tell you. But I don't want to get too far ahead. No, that's the Justin Bieber one. Oh my God, allegedly. I'm going to get sued.
Oh boy.
I don't need that. That's what I said, though. It'd be so funny with where the play was. You end up with each chapter. You end up where just crazy stuff happens, and you have to guess who the real world person is that that you're there, and you have the stuff going wrong. It'd be hilarious. It'd be the best. That's what I'm going to do. Celebrity cells at work. Celebrities at work, I'd call it. Maybe it'd just be celebrity cells at work, but that'd be fun. But yeah, you can play a mystery game.
Yeah.
What would you give this?
I like this quite a bit. I mean, it is a little bit of
I do too. I mean, we ended up having to point it out. I just keep saying it because I did like it.
It's a lot of
Did.
fun. You hear the concept and you think, okay, that's quirky, that's goofy, but it is very clever. And then it's a long read, 60 pages, and it does get bogged down with the technical stuff. But by the end of it, you do have a smile on your face. It's very clever. the way that it kind of sorts it all out and has like it all connected with, you know, cute little platelets and everything working together in the body, and it makes you want to learn more, you know. I want to learn more about the cells at work, which is good because there's about 20 million different spin-off books to learn about them. Jeez.
Exactly.
So I like this quite a bit. I'm going, you know, I bump up the score even more than when we started. I'm going 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I was going to go 8. I think I'm going to bump it up to an 8.5. And maybe the thing is, and I'm looking up Akane Shimizu, and I think I just want to see if there was some sort of like medical background. That's really what I want to know.
Or like a consultant or something.
And I can't really find anything really. I end up seeing this, but I do believe now, if I'm wrong here, please don't yell at me because what I'm seeing, but it does look like it's a gal doing it here. And that's cool too. That's always cool. But cool. Yeah, I'm trying to look here to see anything like, I really just expected it to be, hey, you know, this person ends up doing this and was a doctor, you know, and all this. Yeah. And so I really do think that it plays out. I think that the problem is, and this might be the big deal about it, is that I think that it's such a clever concept with this, even though you can say it's osmosis, Jones, but still, the way to play this out and the way that it's set up is so clever that maybe the editors and things thought that it was too clever and that some people would be left in the dark. And so you had to explain it. I think that that's not the case. I think that there was a lot here, and a couple little tweaks of just characters saying things I think would have played out a lot better, but still, even with that, it is pretty cool. Now I know that when I sneeze, it's shooting missiles, and cells are saluting that. And I always like that. Salute Your Sneeze is my new Nickelodeon show, not connected to Salute Your Shirts. It's not any bit connected to that.
Oh, you're always
want everybody to know. Oh, seriously, that is true. But that is that. I'm going to look more into it because I do want to see the background of this.
Where's the Cells at Work Reading Club coming?
Yeah, really. Seriously, we'll do that. And
we got plenty to read, so I'll tell you that.
With that, yeah, really. It'd be funny. We just had like 80 people doing it, everybody doing a spin-off. I will spell out right now, though, that suddenly it's going to feel better. I don't know. Maybe my cells are at work, right? I don't think so.
Maybe laughter is the best medicine.
Maybe it is. I just know that they ended up calling me the other day and they wanted me to go for a live action of the Code Black.
Oh, yeah.
That's me. They're like,
and
I'm like, but I don't smoke or drink or anything. They're like, no, you're just completely unhealthy.
Perfect.
We don't need, you're the best. So, with that though, that is it. Thanks everybody for listening. Thanks for all of that. I hope that we've made some sort of coherent deal of it, because it was tough. We were really worried about how to talk about it. But yeah, check it out. Also, check out our Twitter. That's a segue.
Bada bing.
At Weird Manga. If you follow us, we'll follow you back, just like white blood cells follow the germs. Now, in that situation, I'm not calling people germs, but maybe I am. Ladies and germs. But you also can go to our Patreon, patreon.com/Weird Science Manga, where you can support us for the things we do here and get 13 episodes in advance of this here Manga Monday show. Also get the exclusive Picks of the Week show, where we do 2 or 3 of the chapters from that week's collection or offerings from usually, the Shonen Jump and things like that. And you can end up hearing that again. That is exclusive. And it's the sister podcast to the weekly review show that we do every Wednesday. So you can go and do all of those. Plus, should I mention, rate and review? I don't know what you got to do. What do we have to have contests? Like, I know that I always said that I hate when people do contests, especially because then you get people who barely listen. I want people who listen and hopefully like the show. I don't need the, they're really great. I listen to them immediately on insert day that podcast comes out. Boy, they know their things. I hate
doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I get frustrated that nobody's rating and reviewing the podcast. It'd be nice.
You'd be more angry if they were faking the funk.
Yeah, I don't need that. Now I say that, and is that my evil plan? That I want people to be like, I'll show him and fake the funk. I'm like, well, we all win then. You get me angry, and we got the deal.
Good publicity.
Yeah, but subscribe, rate, and review. It'd be awesome. It ends up, expanding things. It keeps us inspired, things like that. And Luke will tell you. If you could, I'll turn off my mic, and you can say how upset I get. Like, nobody's rating and reviewing.
Please just do it so he can stop talking to me.
Yeah, Anna Mullix doesn't realize that when we get emails and stuff like that, too, that fires us up. That keeps us going each week, right? That's what I mean. You need something each week.
Mail call.
It's like we're chasing the H here. We need the reviews of the heroines, right?
Now. Oh,
that's what I say. I need the meth. The meth is the meth, but we need these reviews and the ratings and the subscribings. But yeah, hopefully people like us enough. I don't know. Sometimes I sit there, I'm like,
oh my goodness.
I know that we're a little different from some of the other people who do the things that we end up doing, and yeah, we like the quirkiness. We're like the bee cells, I would say. I don't even know. I didn't read. But that's it. Thanks, everyone. I'm getting so tired and loopy, but we'll do that. We'll be back again next week with another Manga Monday. Also, check out our deals on the weekly show and the picks of the week, all that. So thanks, everybody, and we'll talk to you next week.